So let's talk about the not so hidden costs when you want to start a trucking company. In this video, I'm going to go over the top 3 biggest costs that hit me when we started our business, and to this day still kind of annoy me. The days of starting a trucking company by getting a truck and a trailer and just kind of going off on your own are pretty much over. It seems like everyone has their hand out, from the federal, state, and local municipalities, all the way to private businesses trying to get more money from your bottom line. In this video, I want to go over what some of those fees and taxes are that you're going to have to pay, sometimes even before you get your first load. If you're new to the channel, we started a trucking company about 4 years ago. We've built it into a 3-truck fleet and kind of feel like we have an idea what we're doing, although I'm going to knock on wood because I'm pretty sure every time somebody says that, something else comes up. The first fee or tax, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be your registration. If you run apportioned plates, you have to pay the maximum registration fee for your state when you start out. Once you have run your first year, you have to track every mile that you drove in each state, and you're going to fill out a form for your state that says what mileage you drove in each state. What they do is they take your registration fee and they split it up amongst all the states that you ran in during that year. Because each different state has their registration fee set at certain amounts, the only way they can do it is to base it on pretty much a percentage of the mileage you drive in each state. But bottom line, each state wants their share of the pie. If you run less mileage your first year, you may get a credit on your registration for the following year. Not to be negative, but this, in my opinion, is a ridiculous amount of money simply to own a trucking business and pay for the mileage you run. The justification is that it pays for maintenance and upkeep on the roads that are beaten down by our trucks. If that's the case, why am I paying so much in fuel taxes? But let me get off my soapbox and continue the video. But if you're getting any kind of value at this point, do me a favor and tax that like button. Make sure it turns blue. I truly appreciate it. That brings me to the hidden fee or cost number 2, the HUT, or highway use tax. This is an additional fee that is paid on each vehicle or each truck that is used for commercial purposes. This fee is paid to the federal government for the ability to use the highways. The fee is dependent on the gross vehicle weight of your truck, or what your truck weighs along with any cargo it's hauling. The fee is paid the month following the first day that your truck is in service. If your first day is April 1st, then this fee is due by May 31st. Now, we use a service called Truck Dues. They file the 2290, which is the form that the IRS requires to accompany the payment. They charge us $7.99 per truck, and to me, it's worth it because I get monthly email reminders when I need to file the HUT forms. They submit everything electronically, and we get a stamped copy of the Schedule 1 by the IRS, and this is a required form when you register your trucks. Anytime you do anything with the registration of your trucks, you need to have that form. I'm going to leave a link in the description box below of the service we use. We're not affiliated or sponsored or anything with them. We've just used it for the last 4 years, and they've been very reliable with making sure that I get these filed on time. Like I said, in order to renew your registration for your truck, you have to have this stamped 1 copy in order to show your state. Now, the fee is going to be prorated. Because it runs on a July 1st to June 31st cycle, if your registration or you buy a truck any time out of that, let's say you buy in August, your fee may be $495 versus $550. Now, the reason I say $550 is it's based on the gross weight of your truck, and these fees go all the way up to 80,000 pounds. 80,000 pounds is $550, and because our trucks are semi-trucks, that is the maximum gross vehicle weight that they can haul. So every year I pay $550 per truck. Now, if you were running something smaller, say a hotshot truck, or something that's less than the 80,000 pounds, then your fee is going to be proportionately less. I will post a link to the IRS website that tells you the fee schedule based on your gross vehicle weight. Since we can't seem to ever get away from taxes, that brings me to my third point, IFTA. IFTA stands for the International Fuel Tax Agreement. IFTA is a cooperative agreement between 48 US states and 10 provinces in Canada. It allows carriers to report and pay taxes for their fuel for the vehicles that they used in each one of the states. This way they can use a single fuel tax license. Prior to IFTA, you had to get a specific fuel license for each state that you traveled in. And basically, the permits for that were cumbersome. You wasted a lot of fuel driving to get the permits, and then the processing and admin fees, all that stuff. It was just a mess. It was very inefficient, and they came up with this agreement. The way it works is if your truck has 2 axles, a gross vehicle weight exceeding 26,000 pounds, or has 3 or more axles, transports people or goods across state lines, you are required to have an IFTA permit and pay the applicable taxes. To give you an example of how it works, if you normally get fuel in your state and the taxes in your state are higher than all the other states that you travel in or neighboring states, you would basically pay the maximum amount of IFTA taxes on that. Now, depending on how many miles you drove in the other states, you may get a refund or you may have to pay depending on what their state taxes are compared to your state. If your state has low fuel taxes, and that's primarily where you get your fuel, you may have to pay at the end of the quarter or when you file your IFTA taxes. So I know for our drivers, we tend to get fuel in our state more than outside because our state taxes are way higher than everywhere else, so then we don't have to worry about paying extra in. Fortunately, our carrier takes care of all the IFTA filings and fees and everything else, so that's one less paperwork and accounting that I have to worry about. Even though these taxes, fees, and whatnot are not necessarily hidden, it's still something you want to keep in mind when you're going to start your business. It's going to be additional funds up front that you're going to need in the form of working capital with your loan, startup funds, things like that. But the 2 fees, the registration and the highway use tax, you all have to pay those before you even run your truck down the highway. To give you an example of what it costs for the registration, we just renewed our 3-truck fleet, and that bill was a little over $6,000. Roughly, it's $1,700 to $1,800 per truck, but our one truck did travel in California and a couple other states that their registrations are higher. It ended up being a little more. But just to be aware,